Hello and welcome to Geezers of Gear with the ladies. Now, don't worry, everybody. Geezers of Gear with our brilliant host, Marcel, is still here, not going away. Marcel and I just had a lovely idea that don't hide me in the back. Let's bring me out front, and why not have a special edition of Geezers of Gear, but with the ladies? So it's me, Sarah Burney. For those of you that don't know me, I am the producer for Geezers of Gear. I've known Marcel for quite a few years now, and I live in Crete in Greece, which is a beautiful island, and I'm very lucky enough to work remotely. Now, when we came up with this concept, I didn't know how to put it all together, how it was going to unfold, and I still don't. So I have actually recorded with my amazing friend Claire, who we met on ColdPlay. And I knew that if there was somebody that I wanted to do the very first Geezers of Gear with the ladies, it would be this fantastic woman. Now, as always, or I say as always, well, I had a few glitches at the start. So 10 minutes at the start of the Geezers of Gear with the ladies, it's a little bit iffy, but you can still hear our conversation. It's still great. And then it rolls into the rest of the podcast. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Claire. So Claire is a highly motivated individual with over 25 years experience in the industry, specializing in events and special projects for the music, television, and film industries. She has huge amounts of energy, a strong work ethic, bags of enthusiasm, common sense, and professionalism. Claire started working in the industry as a stage crew while studying at university and has had different roles within that time, from event manager, backstage artist liaison, driving bands, and sold merchandise all over the UK, Europe, and the US. Tour management, worked for BAFTA, production assistants, VIP manager, and now LED tech. Claire has worked with some of the biggest bands, including Sir Elton John, Eric Clapton, ColdPlay, Mariah Carey, and Roger Waters, to name but a few. I can't wait for you to hear this podcast, and I really, really hope that you are going to enjoy it. So, please welcome Claire Heat to the podcast. Now, for everyone listening, this is Claire. This is an amazing friend that I actually just had to Google when was the Head Full of Dreams tour, because I was like, when was that? It was like 2015, but we met in 2016.
Yeah, 2016, 2017 was the European and UK run that I did and you did. So
yeah, and that's what I did with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I think the 2017, I joined the American leg as well. But like literally, we haven't seen each other since.
No.
And we were just saying that, like, love Facebook but hate it because I know everything what you've been up to. I like it. I do this. I do that. But we haven't actually spoken. It's shocking. I think we did actually come close once when I was in the UK. You was going to come down.
Yeah, that's right.
I was in the UK working just after COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think you were up north somewhere in comparison to my down south, at least.
Getting all the rigs ready for all the bands that were going out because everything had just been left for 2 years.
Yeah,
that was bad.
Strange times.
But anyway, so where are you now?
I'm at home in Bisley in Gloucestershire. So I've lived here since the beginning of the year, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's in the Cotswolds. and my neighbors are sheep, and yeah,
Amazing.
just lovely and quiet, and a complete change to my lifestyle on the road, basically. So after living out of pretty much a suitcase and a storage unit for 3 years, I finally had the opportunity to rent this place. So
It's amazing because I've seen so many photos of you walking. Like when you get back from a
uh,
tour or you have a break, like you just go out walking, which is obviously something that I've started doing now, since
mm,
COVID, basically. But like
yeah.
it just, we live in like I don't now, but like two different worlds. You're on the road and you're hectic 24/7, always
Mm,
with people, and then you come
mm.
home and you live with sheep.
Yeah, pretty much. I was saying that after I'd moved here in January, I went out on a tour, and the loading dock was the loudest place on earth. It felt like it was just, I just thought, I've been ruined. I've been ruined by the countryside. But no, it's lovely to come back here and recharge. Yeah.
And are you close to friends and family there, or are you like really remote?
Um,
Like what?
my brother lives about half an hour away, so
Oh,
that's pretty fortunate. But no, it was actually through a friend from a tour that I was on, who lives 5 doors down.
no.
So his sister was renting out this cottage, and so yeah, just the stars aligned and it all worked out, thank goodness. But I never see
That's
him
so
because
good.
he's always away on tour. Like, we're ships in the night. I think we've seen each other for 2 days since the beginning of the year.
That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, even that, like when you're on a tour, you're a family. Like,
Oh
we were.
yeah.
We were like, you'd hang out all like 24/7 basically, and then you go separate ways, and then you join another family, and then it's a crazy. But I do miss it. I have to say, I
Yeah, I'm
do miss
sure.
it. But at the same time, working from home now and doing the podcast is just amazing. And of course, I get to do my walks, and it's just a
Yeah.
different lifestyle now,
Yeah.
the lifestyle. But every now and again, I miss those, roadie Fridays and everything. I miss it. But anyway, so what are you on now? Like, I know we're going to go to the future and go back again, but I just want to know because I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I've just been prepping for the summer gig, which is in Munich. So Adele's
Ah,
doing 10 shows throughout August in essentially a car park, which is being made
okay.
into a which is being made into a stadium. I think it's about 85,000 capacity outdoors, and so I'm been working for the video company. We've just been in prep in the warehouses over in the UK, getting everything labelled and ready. Just hundreds of meters, hundreds of thousands of meters of cable.
But
Um,
this is what I really want to know. You're now in video world. I mean,
mm,
2016, it was VIP management. Like, that's what I
yeah.
mean. There's such a huge jump.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have the attention span of a flip-flop, I think is the best way. But also, I just it was time for me to finish doing VIP. A lot of things had changed after COVID, I feel, in terms of people, the public in general. And also, I'm not getting any younger. My tolerance levels for just smiling sweetly, this way, please. They tend to wane a little bit when you get older, I feel. And yeah, I just wanted a new challenge as well, really.
So, at what point did you, decide to have the new challenge? You did all the
Yeah.
training last year. It must have been like a gradual step. Like every now and again, I would see you, yeah, like
It was during the Elton John farewell tour, really. There was about 330 of those shows, and I did 253 of them. And during that time, I held three different positions at different times. Um,
no way.
so
So,
yeah,
what did you go in as?
I went in as what would you call it even? Kind of like a customer relationship person, I guess, for this technology called Peaks, Peex,
Okay.
which was new technology that Elton had invested in. and it was a way of using your phone to mix the show in live. When you were at it, you wear some earbuds, you would wear a radio receiver around your neck, which would be connected to the via Bluetooth, and you download this app and you would get a mixing desk essentially on your phone, and you could play with the sliders during the show. It received a feed basically
Wow.
through radio transmitters around the venue. What's that?
Was it successful?
It was a great product. It was fantastic if you were up high in the gods, in sort of arenas, stadiums and things like that. I think the model just wasn't very easily scalable, if that makes sense. So me with a team of local assistants that I had to train each show in many different languages. I sort of had 15 to 20 assistants, and we'd train them up, and they'd go out with iPads on the concourse before the show started, and we'd hire these headsets out, if you like, to customers for like €10 or something.
Wow, so you had booths as well.
Yeah, I'm getting some warning signs, by the way.
Yeah, I know. We're just going to maybe have a little pause on this one. Let's just see. Okay, we're going to stop the recording. We have a little issue, but we will be back.
Okay.
So we're back. Now, whether we've lost the last bit, I don't know. But you're on your mobile now, yes?
I'm on the mobile, yeah.
It's funny, I was like so nervous about this because this was like the first one, but I knew that if I wanted to talk to anybody, on the podcast, it was going to be with you. Like, I just knew it. I don't know why. I just was like, you just got such a great story. I feel you've got a great story of everything and everything you've done, all the like different, I don't know, what do you do? Areas you've worked in, all of these things. And I was like, I knew it had to be with you because then if any little mistakes, we just laugh about it. So myself, sorry about that. That's the actual host. I'm the guest host right now. And we're not too sure what we're going to call this, if it hopefully it works. But like, we're thinking of like Geese of Gear with the ladies. So there we are. Anyway, where were we? So I think this concept, it does sound really amazing. But did you have little booths all the way around the stadium?
Well, no, we'd hand out. In terms of handing them out, we had several dotted around, and then we had to collect them all at the end of the night as well, asking people to hand them back. So generally speaking, people did hand them back, and they did enjoy using them. But it was getting people over the concept of why would I wear earbuds to a show? But it let ambient sound in. They were like designed especially to do that. So it is a really good product. It's still out there, still trying to find a suitable home, I think. But yeah, ultimately that was the introduction for me to this incredible tour, this massive machine.
Seriously.
And has basically enabled me to make friends for life, really. So yeah, basically what happened, so I was doing the Peaks thing, and then the tour was due to go to Australia and New Zealand in November 2019. Peaks decided it was too expensive for them to freight the gear over there. I mean, it's really costly thing to do, to tour over there as it is. And, once you've flown all the stuff over there and what have you. So I was quite gutted because it was quite short notice, and I'd sort of never been to Australia or New Zealand before. We were due to be there till March 2020. So yeah, it was quite a big chunk of work. So I asked the production manager if I knew that they were looking for a production assistant for that leg of the tour, as the lady that would normally do it wasn't able to, for whatever reasons. I saw that opportunity and asked the question, thinking, well, the worst thing he can say is no. And fortunately, he didn't. And so, yeah, I'd done production assistant work previously for Alabama Shakes and a couple of other smaller bands. And so it didn't really faze me. And I just thought, well, I know all the crew anyway. Let's just get on with it. So I was,
I love it.
production assistant then, right up until the tour came. Well, that leg of the tour came to a natural end on March 7th, 2020. I say natural end because obviously that was when we were getting into the realms of COVID, etc.
So how did it affect you, the
strange.
COVID before? Like,
So we were starting to hear things on the tour in January, and I was getting sent daily. I was getting sent posters about washing your hands to put up around the backstage areas, and everyone was like, "What the hell is this?" Yeah, right, whatever. So yeah, I mean, it was a really strange time. I mean, everyone has their own experience and their own story to tell, I think, of COVID, and where were you when that happened, and where were you when places got locked down and stuff. I mean, I managed to land back into I got back to the UK on March 10th, and we were actually due to restart the tour in the US 2 weeks later.
right.
So I was thinking, maybe that's going to happen. Who knows? We don't know this. And I was like, well, what's going to... Yeah. And I was thinking, well, I knew that I wasn't going to be going back as production assistant because generally speaking, the tour didn't use a production assistant for parts of the US. And so I knew that wasn't an option.
So your little
But
brain starts ticking. You're like, where can I
yeah,
go
and I was like, well, Peaks will come back, we'll do Peaks in the US. And then I literally landed into Heathrow and got a message to say that the Peaks thing had gone away and wasn't
now?
going to be rejoining the tour. And I was like, oh, I left 2 pairs of trainers in the wardrobe flight case. Like, how am I going to get those back? And what about all those people? Like, I haven't said goodbye to anyone, And so that was pretty heartbreaking, really. But as it turned out, the world kind of shut down a bit, didn't it? So
What did you do during?
during
Yeah, well, I was going to say, because I know with you, you wouldn't just sit still. You'd use this time to. So what did you do during
well, I
COVID?
was very, very lucky in that I wasn't living. Uh, was I living somewhere? No, I wasn't living anywhere. I had my things in a storage unit, pretty much. Uh,
I love how
I
you just say that, just matter of fact. Yeah, I wasn't living anywhere. It was
Yeah,
just in
honestly, you
storage.
should see my mum's address book is ridiculous. It's got about 16 different addresses for me.
Mine was too. I
Yeah,
never was anywhere. I was living in somewhere 1 minute, then somewhere else. Stuff at
exactly.
mum's. I mean, my post still goes to my mum's.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I was very lucky. I had arranged to stay with a friend for a couple of weeks in Cardiff, which is where I went to uni. Yeah, we just did lockdown together essentially. I was like, I'm really sorry. Do you mind if I stay? And she's like, no, it's fine. She was furloughed. Um, and she just sort of, she enjoyed the chilling out time. But
Yeah,
yeah, I like you say, I can't really sit still for very long. So I decided to pick up rubbish.
I
I
remember
decided
this.
to
Yes,
collect
I
litter.
remember.
Yeah, because we'd gone from doing really long days, really,
Tour life.
um, yeah, tour life. Yeah. And so yeah, I basically picked up rubbish from anywhere between an hour to 8 hours a day, and hundreds of bags of rubbish around Cardiff.
But you got people in the end, people joining you to do it as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it was quite bizarre. I got a lockdown legend award from the
You got
local.
Lockdown Legend Award. That's amazing. Seriously, I knew that, during, and I remember now, I remember seeing photos of you with all this rubbish. It's like, only you, everybody else is just relaxing. And you're like, what can
But
I
you know
do?
what? I mean, the
How did
thing
you
is,
just go outside and start picking rubbish and then just walk further and further away from the house?
well, I started doing Couch to 5K for the like 19th millionth time, and having never completed it because I've always got bored of it and got too far and too sweaty. Anyway, and when I was a kid, me and my friend, one of my neighbours, we used to go and pick up rubbish on our estate where we grew up. Like, it's really little kids, and we found like the old ladies would like come and let us choose a sweet from the Quality Street tin and all this kind of stuff. And also, I was everyone was out walking, weren't they, and like trying to enjoy the outdoors for the limited time that we were allowed. And I just felt like everywhere was covered in rubbish. It was making me really miserable.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, rather than moan about it, I'll try and be proactive and do something about it. So I ordered a couple of litter picker things off Amazon. And I asked my friend if she wanted to come out as well. She was like, no, you're all right, thanks. And then I found out through, the local council, they would deliver these special pink bin bags to your house, which meant that you could leave them for the local refuse collectors to pick up. Anyway, so that's what I did. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bags and hundreds of hours of picking up rubbish, and people would give me a beep as they went past. And then I took the local Tesco to task because all around the back of their store, it was like walkways through sort of a park and etc. But there was no bins there. There was, people just threw their rubbish on the ground, and I said, "Oh, I think you should provide a bin." Yeah. Anyways, it was a strange time.
The
Strange
thing is,
time.
though, I remember as a kid, my mum, we always, even now, you put your rubbish in your pocket. Wherever you take out, you put your rubbish in your pocket. But
Yeah.
now it just doesn't happen. I kind of years ago, I looked at it, I was like, why? But then when I went down, when I was living in like England, there were no bins. There were no bins
Yeah.
to put stuff in. I mean, people are lazy as well, but you know, but
People
during that
would
time,
try
I
and
mean,
hand me an empty can. They'd be out for a walk and go, "Oh, can I just put this in your bag?" And I was like, "Can't you just hold on? Why have I got to now carry your rubbish
that's true.
around for the next hour while I?" It was very, very strange. But yeah, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with that because I wasn't sure that the industry was even going to come back, and went through a period of sort of bereavement, I think, really, of thinking, oh, there's that job that I adore, that lifestyle that I love, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to do that again. There was real mixed messages, and I could see film and TV was gradually trying to find a
Yeah.
way, but music was just never given the grace of being as important. And I think
And
people
that's how
just
it
take
felt.
music for granted all the time. They take it for granted constantly. Film and television seems to be more of a tangible thing. Oh, people, what would people do without a telly box in the corner of their room? But music, people just, because I don't know if it's
But
they can't see it. I don't know what it
thing is though that during that time as well, I mean, you ask anybody, oh, Netflix became extremely popular.
is.
People sitting down binge watching series.
Yeah,
Look, I'm guilty of that. You go on a tour, even on a day off, you binge watch. But what does music do? Music makes you feel good. It's everything. Now they didn't want people to be with music and happy, like not happy, that's a stupid thing to say, but they wanted us to be like calm. So just shove a load of TV stuff at you, watch a load of like binge TV, and you're kind of like, oh, well, this is all right. I'm watching TV from my home. It wasn't, I mean, I know there were musicians out there doing stuff online. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it was a very scary time. I mean, that's basically when I ended the like my like touring days. I mean, I was
yeah,
meant to go out with Avril Lavigne, and you say being stuck with say stuck, but during lockdown, long story short, somebody came to look after my dogs. She was from Australia. She was traveling Europe, and she arrived about a week before. And I was due out, and I was like seeing all these tours cancel, cancel, and I was like, surely it's not going to cancel. No, it's not going to cancel. Then all of a sudden I get the letter, the email, it's cancelled. And I was like,
mm,
Okay. I said, well, you've just come over here to look after my dogs. I was like, look, just stay for a week. You know, we can enjoy. I can show you my area. And then literally the following week, everything shut down. I was like, well, looks like we're together then.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like the whole COVID time, we were together, which was fantastic because I lived on my own up in the mountains. And if I didn't have that person with me, maybe I would have felt too isolated. Whereas I had
Mm,
her as companionship. Obviously, everyone was then calling everybody at any time of the day because you knew you know, if they didn't answer, well, what are you doing? Because they were, you know, you had to be there. You couldn't do, oh, I'm busy, because no one was
yeah.
busy. So
Yeah.
that whole chatting with everybody like getting together on the groups for, you know, I know, you know, there's obviously very bad things that happen, but I love that time. Me personally, you know, it was something that changed my whole attitude to life.
Mm,
Started walking, started doing everything, and it was just incredible, you know. But like I said, for you to not just sit there watching TV, and I'm sure you did a lot of analysing whilst picking up all the rubbish, that you did something, you gave something back to the community, and that's, you know, that's amazing.
yeah. It was just yeah. People would drive past and say, "Oh, we've seen you picking up rubbish, and where'd you get those bags from?" And maybe can I come out with you? And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, do whatever you want." And because of all the COVID guidelines and everything else, you know, they did have a local litter picking group or what have you there, but because of all the guidelines and because it was run out of the council, they had to shut it down and have, you know,
Ah,
whereas me, I was just me and independent and, you
yeah.
know, we would, me and a local man, Ahmed, we would go and we sort of he would take it up a grade and pull out sofas and shopping trolleys and stuff like this from local waterways. So we'd get up really early in the morning and go and go do that. Just bizarre. Anyway, but yeah, and then you know, I also I got a job doing online events.
Okay.
Um, I did have a job interview to go and be a carer, and I was due to start my training, and then somebody contacted me saying that they'd heard of a job running online events for a company, and so I was like, oh, maybe I'll give them a shout and see where that goes, and if not, then I'll continue down the route of the caring. But they did. I got the job doing the online events, so I did that for about 6 months,
And what do you mean online
which was
event?
a
Like
well.
for
So there was
fans
like
in
an
this industry?
umbrella.
Or,
Yeah, it was actually technology. It was an umbrella organisation for the tech industry in Wales, tech across all different kinds of
Mhm.
um, sectors, not music at all, not really, but like fintech and you know farming and you know all different
Wow. Yeah.
sorts of things. Yeah, we did one big event which was like 1,500 delegates and like several, well, oh, I can't remember now, like maybe 20 speakers from all over the world. And I was sat in my friend's spare room in Havant on
No
my
way.
own, just like being so connected to all these people, yet not connected to anyone either at the same time. So weird.
And at this point, did you, obviously music started to come back? Was
Yeah, it
it
was
again? I mean, what happened after COVID for you? Like, when did you get a call, or did you be you and approach somebody? Like,
well during so yeah, throughout that time, obviously the Elton tour was still trying to get back out on the road. Um, and with the help of the tour accountant, DC Parnett, shout out to him, tour accountant and tour manager, and also Andrew Sharp from AEG. Um, I was like, the VIP manager had a baby during COVID, and I was like, ah, oh, maybe there's a job for me there because I'd done VIP since 2016 on other tours at quite, you know, a fairly high level. And so, yeah, the three of us put in like this three-pronged attack into, into AEG, and yeah, they went for it, thankfully. So we were due to go out with Elton in the autumn of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
but he hurt his hip.
Didn't he? Yes.
Yeah, so the tour was postponed again until January 2022. And that's when it all started back up again with really strict COVID protocols in place. Um, so yeah,
And
but
that was for
I mean,
VIP.
that was doing VIP. Yeah.
VIP. And what does that entail for?
Oh gosh. So for that tour, every package is always different.
Yeah.
You know. So on that tour, it was. I'm trying to think now. Gosh, it wasn't even that long ago. It
Great.
was. It was a pre-show. Like guests, some guests would turn up early, and they would have sort of pre uh, pre-doors nibbles and drinks,
Yeah.
and then they would all go to the into the arena. I'd take them into the arena. They would have their photograph taken at Elton's piano,
Did they ever
and they
meet
would
you at the
also
meet and greet as well, or
no,
no, no?
no, no, and then one of the head touring rigger would give them a presentation
Okay.
about from the stage about what it takes to put the tour on. They have an opportunity to ask questions
But
and
that is
things like
amazing.
that.
From, I remember like again my first tour, seeing everything that happens backstage. You're like, woof, like just
Mm.
blown away. So that is an amazing package to do that.
Yeah, it was a really popular package. But with the strict COVID protocols, they didn't want
Oh yeah.
people to be on the stage. So we would get the piano set up on the floor. We'd have this incredible, the tour photographer, Ben Gibson. He would take photographs of the people. Sometimes we had to bring in local people because Ben had other commitments or what have you. But yeah, somehow we just sort of made it work, really. Everyone was given their own sort of Elton John K95 mask with an
I
E
was just
star
gonna,
printed
I
on
was
it.
just gonna say because I mean, I'm terrible. I do forget things, and like even that, COVID is gone. It's, I've forgotten, but of course that at that point as well, we were still wearing the masks. Distance.
Yeah.
I mean, even distance apart. Was that still a thing? Did you have to have
Oh,
certain
yeah.
distance?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So that must have been like, yeah,
Yeah.
that
And
must
we
have
had, understandably, really strict COVID protocols. We travelled with a bus of nurses. Um,
really, wow.
yeah. All local stagehands were tested coming in. For the morning in and the evening out. They
And what
were
about crew? Crew, like, did you like have to?
crew. We
Obviously,
had so
obviously
we were all
vaccination.
PCR tested.
All the
Vaccinations were mandatory.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and we had PCR tested, and then we were in different bubbles
Ah, yes.
um, depending on our location
Oh,
during the
oh,
show. So
yeah.
those of us who were in the public areas, should we say, so like those running camera or front of house, me doing VIP, lots of contact with the public merchandise, all those people. We were in sort of a testing schedule of like being tested every day. Go to your hotel room, like there'd be a
Oh,
knock on
your
the door and there'd
nose.
be a nurse there sticking the thing up your nose.
I seriously, I don't think I could have done it. Like, really, I don't think I could have done it.
Oh, you know what though? We were just so happy and feeling so grateful to be back together again, I think, and
Yes. Yeah.
and you know, just be back doing what we loved. Um, I don't think it's any secret that, you know, lockdown was incredibly hard for a lot of people, and many
Yeah.
people in the industry, coped better than others, and for some it was something that they simply couldn't cope with, and sadly, took their lives as a result. I mean, it was brutal. It was a brutal time.
And I mean, I think when mentally. I mean, I
Yeah.
did a lot of stuff. Again, I did like little podcasts during that whole time, with a guy called Andy Flack. I don't know if you met him before, but he was brilliant because it was all about mental health and people are here for you. And I remember one person, and I won't mention names, but they were like, I took it onto, like you, I took it onto the positive. Don't get me wrong, I had bad days as well. You know, it was like I had no work, you know, and I didn't get
Mm,
any extra money. And all of a sudden,
mm,
all this money was slowly going, and I was like, how am I going to survive? Like, I'm just not. So trying to turn it into a positive, I started walking, as you know. But somebody had said to me, said, I can't watch your videos, you know. And I was like, okay, like I'm not expecting anyone to watch them. She said, because like I'm I'm in the apartment. I just can't. Like it just makes me feel sad. And
mm,
then I was like, shit, you know, imagine everybody in the cities, you know, that everything about it financially. I mean, you know, I'm lucky. I had no responsibilities. I had dogs to feed, but I didn't have a family. I didn't have yeah, children and all these things. And that
mm,
isolation. I mean, I've seen posts like going back. You know, there's you know people with babies and meet the grandparents through a window. Like, you know, it was absolutely crazy.
mm.
Um, and I do know, you know, we know both know people that, you know, died during that time. You know, it's hopefully it's in the past, you know, and
Gosh,
that's
I hope so. I hope so.
yeah,
I
I know.
mean,
I mean,
yeah,
but you know, you never know what could be around the corner next. But I do feel that with everybody that they were doing for the music to bring it back, you know, that was something
yeah,
people wanted the music, people wanted it back. And like you said, well, you did everything. You had the test every day, every morning, every night, just to get that tour on the road again.
yeah.
And,
It
you
was
know,
pretty
in
amazing.
fact, we had a gentleman on, Faye McMahon, and he was mentioning that, you know, part of his tour, you know, they had to be vaccinated, and one particular person was like, I don't want the vaccination. And he was like, the amount of stuff you put in your body, like, come on. Like,
But you
seriously.
don't
And
know what's in it. Oh,
like,
really?
really? What about everything else you've
Yeah,
done in your life? And you
yeah,
know, but then that was my decision. I decided I wasn't going to be vaccinated. That's me. That was me personally. But I also knew that if I got the call to work, I would be. Like, I wasn't like, you know, I knew that that's what I would have had to have done, and I wouldn't have gone no, 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 no. I would have done it, but it just turned out nobody called me.
oh,
Sorry.
no,
Um, but yeah, so then obviously Elton finally did go back on tour. But what I really want to know
yeah.
is how you got into the new
Oh,
industry, shall
okay.
we say. This is what I'm really dying to hear.
Okay, so yeah, we did a bunch of arenas and then we did a bunch of stadiums with Elton, and yeah, the whole schedule was all sort of mixed around. It was kind of a weird time. So the very last leg of the tour ended up being an arena leg around Europe, and for those last 4 months, because I'd been having it had been quite a tough time with the general public, let's say. And I had had enough. I'd
Yeah.
had enough, and I was like, I need to do something else. And so my very good dear friend Kim Hampton, who was the video crew chief on Elton,
Hmm.
and basically my light and inspiration and mentor, if you like, she just said, "Well, why don't you come join video? We're a good bunch," and they were a good bunch. They were like the most incredible people, as everyone was on that tour, to be honest. Anyway, so I was like, really? I don't know. I think everyone's going to think that's a bit weird, aren't they? Normally, I'm wandering around in a pink suit and sequins, going this way, please. You know, dealing with dealing with all the public. And she's like, ah, no, no. You know, so
But this is
I
what I
was
mean.
like,
Sometimes it's not, oh, God, excuse me, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. Imagine that, someone saying, just come and join us. We'll train you,
Just
we'll
come and
teach
join us.
you.
So I was like, how can I make that work? And probably going to get myself into trouble now,
Cog,
but there
yeah,
we go. So
constantly.
basically, I figured out that because of the way the timings land throughout the day of show setup and everything else, that I could possibly make it work so that I could volunteer with the video
Do
crew on their load-ins and their load-outs, definitely with their load-outs. And I could also still maintain my commitments doing VIP, because basically the VIP tour, etc., happens during a time when it's downtime for the rest of the crew. Everyone usually, they take a nap, or everything has to be set up and ready to go by sort of 4 o'clock or 3:30 or whatever, which is when the VIP tour would start. And whilst I had some setting up to do, it was fairly, easy and quick. And by that point, I've been doing it for a year and a half, so I could sort of do it backwards, really. So yeah, I basically did the load-ins and load-outs of the last 4 months in these
That's
arenas.
amazing. So you made it happen. Instead of sleeping, you got up, you volunteered to learn it and do it.
Yeah, I mean, my day was, I would be doing VIP. Everyone sort of doesn't really know what you do on a crew, I think,
No.
which is fine because you're just usually a department of one or two,
Yeah.
depending on the size of the tour. And I always tried to be as needy as possible.
Mhm.
So, yeah, they didn't really see the huge amounts of merchandise that I'd have to figure out how
Lug
to shift from
around
one
and
side of the stadium to another or whatever it was. Anyway, so yeah, my day would sort of go from, I don't know, 9:30 till the end of the VIP package, probably. So yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. It just meant that I had, something to fill my night with, which was awesome, and learn something at the same time. And the the crew was so. At first, there was a bit of a, oh, hey, Video Claire. I just sort of got this nickname, Video Claire. Is this VIP Claire or Video Claire? And I'm like, once I put my hard hat on and my and
I'm
my
video player
shorts,
now.
and Video Claire. Yeah. And they gave me certain jobs to do during the loadouts and stuff, and yeah,
But
hats
it's
off to
just
them for
being
their,
part of it. You're seeing how
yeah,
it operates. It's, because again, even being like for me, being like in the catering side, we never saw the load in, the load out, apart from,
mm,
so, and even for you, you'd come in. I never used to see you what everybody's doing. So being
yeah,
part and involved, you learned. I believe
yeah,
you learned so much.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't a stranger to how a loadout goes as such. I used to do local crew
Ah, yeah,
um, when I was like way back in uni. I started on the stage crew at university. So I wasn't kind of, it wasn't that I didn't know it or didn't understand what went on, but
yeah,
for a production of that size, the order in which things happen and have to happen. And I remember the first couple of loadouts, it was like everyone was getting psyched up to like start the loadout, and the stage manager would be like, you know, sort of pacing around and getting stuff ready and like speaking to local crew, and the adrenaline was just like nuts. And then as
boom,
soon as the last note was hit, it would just go into complete, de-rig mode. And I remember thinking, my gosh, everyone's shouting at each other and, all the noise. And I was like, my goodness, this is terrifying. But then after a few, you just kind of get used to it. You learn what needs to be done in what order, and, what other departments you have to be mindful of, and, who's going to be potentially in your way, or,
yeah, yeah.
vice versa.
Did you
And
follow
so
someone at first? Did you say the
Timmy
ladies?
would basically give me the end of a fiber cable and go,
Mhm.
okay, this is yours, follow it around, coil it up, and go to the stage right IMAG. And I'd be like, okay. And I would take that fiber
Take like it
and
was the most precious thing in the world.
yeah, and I would just follow the trail of it, which was like round things, under things, over things, whatever. And then that was
Yeah,
my first thing. And then I would just look around and see what needed to be done and who I could help. And I'd try and take the weight off of some of the other video people. If they were under the stage coiling robo looms, which were really heavy, I would like just go over and try and take it off them and find the case for it so that they could save their energy for getting the next robo loom, or whatever it
That's
was. And
amazing.
so yeah, it was great, and I really really enjoyed it. And they arranged it
So
so I could ride
from
on the video bus, and so I really
that's
felt
so actually you got to be on the
part of
video
it.
bus as well.
Yeah,
You lucky devil.
yeah. So it was really good times. And then just again through fortunate meetings, really, we were doing a load out in the O2 in May, and one of the local crew people was a rigger that Kimmy, the crew chief, knew, and she was like, "There, this is Adam. Like, he's from Wales. Remember, I was telling you, he's like, this is my friend's brother. It's all like who you know, I guess,
Connecting,
isn't it?
yeah.
Because crew people, and yeah, Kim knew this Adam guy, and his sister was a touring caterer, or used to be a touring caterer. So, and because I used to live in Wales, she said, "There's Welsh." I was like, "Not strictly
Instant
Welsh, no,
connection.
not strictly Welsh." She was like, "Oh, all right." And then didn't really think anything else of it. And 2 weeks later, Kim received an email from her friend, saying, "My brother said that you've got a Welsh LED chick working with you. My husband is a project manager for a video company and he's looking for crew. Can you send us her details?" And so Kim was like, "This is it. This is how you're going to get work. This is it. Go." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, no, I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm doing." She's like, "Yes, you do. You do. It's 80% being able to tour, and you can learn the rest of it." And that's kind of the mantra that I've held
That's
close.
seriously. I've got shivers
Yeah,
just because it's such a. I was going to ask you, for all young people, for anybody coming into the industry, like, what advice would you give them? But you've just kind of like that for me. I'm going to answer my own question. I'm asking, but you just did it. Instead of sleeping, instead of if you used your time to volunteer, to learn something, to shadow someone, and then it was through you being. I know exactly how you are. You're wonderful. You're bubbly, and no, it's true. Talking to
oh,
people and putting yourself out in a situation where you might feel a little bit uneasy, and one thing leads to another, and you got this call. It wasn't because you was just sat on your bus waiting for everyone to finish. It was because you was proactive. You knew that
yeah,
the VIP was coming to an end for you. Maybe this didn't work, but I know you would have tried something different. But it has. So it's a
yeah.
great.
I mean, I was really lucky, and that um, yeah, this video company, they got in touch and was like, "Are you available? Blah blah blah. Do you
So
have a
the
visa?"
video
And I was
company,
like,
was it
"Well,
based in Cardiff?
um, no, not really. Just this guy lived in Barry,
All right,
Joe Makin.
okay.
Shout out to Joe. So it was thinking about it, I feel like it was a risk. Really, it was a massive risk. But I was, Kimmy gave me an amazing, glowing reference, and I went into their warehouse to prep. It's in Basingstoke actually, which it's only about an hour from where my parents live, weirdly. So yeah, I went there and was prepping. And the first tour that I did then was Peter Gabriel. We did a 7 week
I mean,
run
seriously,
in
first
the
tour, Peter
US.
Gabriel,
I know,
just like that,
just
Peter Gabriel.
mental.
Oh yeah.
It was nuts. And I got, and it was in the US, and I love working in the US. I love it. And everyone is they've got a real, my experience anyway,
Yeah.
a real can do. They really want to help you. They really want to help. They really want to make it good. That's not to say that that's not the same in Europe, but
No, no, I
sometimes you
understand.
you
No,
do
I
hit walls
understand.
of it's not possible. No, we can't do that. No, no, no. And it's, I don't know. That's just my personal experience. But yeah, 7 weeks in the US with Peter Gabriel, and I got paired up with a guy, and because generally that's kind of, you'll work on different sections of the LED of the walls or whatever's needed, and we were building this circular screen, which was inside a fascia, so it wasn't even a straightforward rectangle iMag. It was,
No,
this kind of jigsaw puzzle of a screen, but it was amazing. I loved every second of it. Even if maybe some days were harder than others, obviously, as they always are in any job, but I loved it, and just felt so grateful, and still do, grateful every day that I was given that opportunity and given that chance. Yeah.
and then after, so only because I was looking at, you said then after last year you went in to do some training. Was that just to what was the
Yeah,
training, like
so
official
I,
training, shall we say?
I was basically thinking, oh, how do I build upon this now? And I've got this sort of downtime, how am I going to fill that? So I looked into so the processors or one make of the processors that are used in video are called Brompton, and they do like free courses or like 3 days where you can go to London and learn about
Hmm.
the processors. I mean, it's sort of beneficial for them and works both ways. So I went and did that. I mean, I didn't understand a word of half of what was being said, to be honest with you. But, bit by bit, you take things in, and you learn with repetition. Or that's kind of how I learn, and I'm much more of a visual learner
Me
rather than
too.
sort of sit down with a textbook. That's never really been good for me. Plus, I was getting through the same company, VSS, and this project manager, Joe, he was bringing me in to do sort of film and TV stuff. So I was doing stuff at Wolf Studios in Cardiff, like massive installations for like virtual production and stuff like that. Never done a ground stacked LED screen before, but did that.
There
And
you are.
yeah, and also when I came back off the Peter Gabriel tour, yeah, I landed on the Monday after a 10-hour flight. I've got a 3.5 hour coach to Cardiff. I picked up my car and then drove straight away 4 hours up to Pontefract to do a 3-day course with Roe.
Yes.
Um, so I did this 3-day classroom course with Roe straight off the bat with my jet lag and everything fully intact, and
I bet you
learned.
was like that.
I was
Oh.
like, this is awesome. This is so good. Teach me stuff. This is great. So yeah, again, free, that's a free thing that Row offer. And these things are out there. You just have to
That's
search for
I
them.
didn't
You
know
just
that.
have
So
to look
that
for the
Rowan actually
opportunity.
offer a free, yeah, a free learning package basically.
Yeah, in Production Park, which is an amazing space
Oh,
up north in
yeah, that's
Pontefract.
where I was working that time.
There you go. Yeah. So Row have got like a learning area there, which they get a lot of local college students there, but also, there were people there from other video companies as well, just sort of upskilling.
Because
So
I
yeah,
think
I
the
did 3 days
floor's
on
there
that.
as well, isn't it, at Production Park? Because we were there for like 3 months at Production Park. I
Oh
love that
wow.
place. I mean, so much. We were there when they were building, I don't know what it's called now, Studio 1A or something, but the other
Yeah,
studio area. And what they're doing there is like incredible. Like, I mean,
yeah.
so good. And but I didn't realize that Row were there. Sorry, Row. Row's actually a sponsor of ours on Geezers
Oh
of Gear.
really? Oh
I
well, there
didn't
you go.
realize that they're there. So I'll have to look into more about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I did the two sort of the basic and then the advanced row course when I was there. And I was talking to Kimmy, who was obviously back in the US. Well, I would say obviously she's from the US, and she's like, "Yeah, we're going." She works for a company called Solar Tech, and she was like, "Yeah, we're going to go and do this row course." I said, "Oh yeah, I've done that."
Sorry.
Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, so I did that, and I was just sort of looking around of ways to try and fill my time because I didn't really know. I was approaching the other big, video companies and things like that. But um, I've always just been a believer. Since I went self-employed in 2011, I just think you have to kind of keep the faith. But that doesn't mean you just sit and wait for the phone to ring. You know, you have to go out and
Don't
search
be
and
proactive.
hustle. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to. I call it like, just getting my hustle on. But also with that, being disciplined and not turning back to my previous roles. So I decided that I was going to stay focused this time, because I tended to always in the past see opportunities and think, oh yeah, I can do that, or I've done that before. And so I will dot around. I've done a bit of production assistant work, I've done VIP work, I've done sort of event management work, artist liaison, all sorts of different things. But never really focused in on one specific thing. And I thought, if I'm going to make this work, I already feel like I am way behind in terms of my knowledge for where I'm at in the industry, in terms of my age.
yep.
Okay. So, like, I'm 47, and it's like there are other people out there, but it's all about what you know. And so I just feel like I'm catching up. I'm trying to catch up constantly. And
But
I'm
again,
never
you're
going to
doing
have.
what amazing. Like again, sorry to you're gonna have a massive head by the time you leave this podcast. But like, what? No, seriously, like if I'm honest, like even before when we was touring, always like it was kind of like a dream to get into, you know, the video or even like the production side of things. Like that was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like I wanted and I never pushed it. Same as lighting and the
Mm,
like even audio, anything on that backstage side. Because I have to say, I felt exactly the same as you. I was tired of smiling, you
yeah,
know, like tired of smiling and getting up and you always had to be happy, and
yeah,
it was like actually you see all the crew come in and the crew and if they're not happy then they're not happy, but it doesn't matter, they don't have to be anybody different. And so when you first like Kimmy said to you, come and do it, what would you be like 45 then?
I guess so. Yeah.
So at
Well,
45,
no, like last year. So yeah, yeah, 40, yeah, 46.
40,
I'm
44,
going to be
46.
40. I'm
Yeah.
47 next week.
Yeah. Oh, really? No way. Okay. Happy birthday for next week.
Thanks.
But again, to anybody that's listening out there, anything is possible. And that's what I love about you and coming on because, you know, when you started, I mean, you said you was at university at Cardiff. What was you studying at university?
So I was at University of Glamorgan. It's not even called that now. It was so long ago. It's called University of South Wales now. And I studied humanities. How vague is that? And so within that, I did lots of different modules of psychology, philosophy, journalism, script writing, theatre, media, drama, arts administration, like
Okay.
lots of different things. Uh, in my second year, at the beginning of the second year, my friend started going to looking for jobs. We all sort of started looking for jobs, and I didn't want to work behind the bar, and I didn't really want to work in the cafe. And I saw someone coming out of the Students' Union with an application form, and I just said, "Oh, what's that for?" And they said, "Oh, it's for the Ents crew." And I said, "Oh,
What's that?
I'll go and see what that's about then." And I got this application form, and filled it out, and was on the Ents crew, which was basically can't remember how many of us, probably six of us or something. And they had some really great bands played at the Students' Union then. Yeah, I would load bands in, and we'd help set up the PA and whatever else was needed, you know.
This is where it
And
started,
then,
and you
yeah,
saw
and
it.
during the show, we did front stage security during the show. Which was kind of wild, catching crowd surfers and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's kind of bonkers, really. And then, the summer balls would happen, and we have quite an extensive crew for that. And then put me as stage manager on the summer ball, and yeah, just talking to people and
So
trying to
can I
figure
ask,
out.
when you was at university, had you imagined doing what you've done throughout your life, or was it the fact that this student union guy came up, handed you a leaflet, and that's how you fell into the you saw the other side basically?
Yeah, I mean, I like doing physical things.
Yeah,
I'm sort of, I like lifting and shifting stuff, which is probably just as well. And
yeah,
I like the fact that I was able to be amongst that night out and get
hmm,
paid for it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
not, get paid for it, not feel, like I didn't feel like I was missing out. My friends would come out to the nights at the Students' Union and drinking and getting drunk. And don't get me wrong, I did my fair share of that, but obviously not when I was
yeah.
working. But it
No,
was a great time to, hear those bands, see those bands, and like I say, get paid for it. And I remember thinking, oh, I'd love to see the world and get paid for it.
that's what I
But
said.
at time, I think that used to mean joining the army, or you see that on those adverts, don't you? See the world. And I never, no, I didn't really ever dream that I would end up doing this. Even really in sort of my 20s and stuff. When I left university, for my arts administration module, we had to get work experience, and I was already doing some local crew work in the coal exchange in Cardiff Bay. And so that was through the guy who was the ENTS manager at the, it's all very strange. There's just like this whole path. This guy, Pablo, was the ENTS manager at the university. And he would also do a bit of local promoting on the side in Cardiff. And he would put gigs on through at the coal exchange in Cardiff Bay. It's a beautiful 1,000 capacity venue. It used to be the stock exchange for Wales. It's where the first $1 million check was signed. It's a hotel now, but
Okay.
yeah, it was this awesome venue, and I got some work doing office stuff, admin stuff, for the events that they held there. And so on days when they had bands playing, it would get to sort of 2, 3 o'clock load-in time, and I would go and get changed out of my office attire and stick my boots on and my shorts and t-shirt and go and load in the PA, help load in the band, and then go into gig mode. So sort of that split role again, I suppose. I suppose like I was doing on Elton. Yeah, so I worked, and then they ended up giving me a job, um, doing the office stuff and being an events manager there. So I was there for a couple of years.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and the
And what
events
about,
the events thing just carried on really.
yeah, because you've always done, even when you've come back from tours, you've always
Yeah.
done, I mean, I've got to mention this because this is, I mean, I remember seeing again a photo of you, but the elf, the Christmas elf, I mean, you really will do anything.
Really, I really will do anything, pretty much, as long as it's legal. I mean, yeah, I did. So between tours, I needed to find work, or I wanted to find work. So you never know when the next tour is gonna, or the opportunity is gonna arise. You can hustle for it as much as you want, but unless there's an opening for it, especially doing VIP, which is usually, like I said before, like 1 or 2 people. It's not like on a video crew where they might put 8, 9 people on a crew. There's obviously a lot more opportunity for work. So yeah, I found the world of experiential marketing and promotions, and just a world that I never even knew existed. But if you've ever walked down the street and somebody's tried to hand you something free, like a can of Coke, or I don't know, in
That could
my
have been
case,
you.
it could have been me. Yeah, yeah. I've done some really bizarre, like pickle. Anyone? You've just finished a Tough Mudder. Would you like some Hayward's pickles on this piece of cheese? Yeah, and I did two. I did 2 seasons as an elf.
I
in
know.
Manchester.
There he is, but with your face. Seriously, come on.
So yeah, I was a cabin elf for the first season pretty much, and the second season I call it clipboard elf, but I was basically on the main front door, and we all had nicknames so that we could speak to each other freely, without the breaking the magic. Yeah, there
Yes.
was all sorts of
What was your elf
strange.
name?
Snowy.
Of course, Snowy. Elf Snowy.
Elf Snowy. But yeah, there was like marshmallow and toffee apple and crackerjack and
Oh,
all different sorts. And actually, even to this day, I don't know some of these people's real names. I just know them as their elf names.
is that?
Um,
So, what
yeah,
was your first
Santa's.
tour?
What was that?
What was your first tour? Your first
Oh,
ever
so
tour?
okay. Well, in 2011, I went freelance. I'd been working for the Welsh government as a strategy manager for the creative industries,
Okay.
and I took voluntary redundancy from that. Uh, Everything just took too long. You're trying to represent these companies and provide things for these companies in, so that they can take advantage of opportunities as they arise. And the machinery of a public sector organisation like that is just too slow. It doesn't react quickly enough. So they would miss opportunities, and it just became. I never was able to see like the fruits of our labour, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I like doing events. You've got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you get to see it all come to fruition. Move on, next one. So it's quite funny that I was doing strategy, which is obviously the longer term vision. Yeah, so I took voluntary redundancy from that and decided that I was going to be a tour manager, and I was going to set myself up as a tour manager. And then I quickly found that the first question people ask you is, who else have you tour managed? And I was like, no
Nope.
one yet, but I can do it. I can do it. Anyway, I was putting myself out there on sort of social media, and I did the whole thing. I got my business cards printed and this whole thing getting set up. My goodness, how naive. Anyway, this local Welsh label in Cardiff called Angst, um, there was a guy there that I knew from, working with Welsh bands throughout my time in Welsh government. And also I used to work at the Barfly, and I used to work, all these different places. So, it is kind of, well, for me, it is who I knew really. And he got in touch and said, "Oh, I see you're a tour manager now, eh?" He said, "Well, we've got a band that needs picking up from an airport. Have you got a driving license?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got a driving license." Right, okay, well, we've got this band that we need a driver, and we need merchandise merchandise seller. Actually, just before then, I'd done a Christmas tour with a Welsh choir called Only Men Allowed, who I think came second in like Britain's Got Talent way back when. And I sold their merchandise, and we travelled all around the UK playing different arenas. And and it was a Christmas tour. And so I used to wear like this Christmas hat and a red dress and like sell their merchandise. I mean, it was absolutely cringe when I think about it. And these were all my decisions. These are my choices to do that, because I
That's
found like,
hilarious.
you know, well, it's a Christmas tour. Let's dress up, right? Let's be Christmas
Yeah.
based. So anyway, I'd had a bit of experience from doing merchandise from that, I guess. Yeah, and so this company Angst took me on to look after the merch and to drive an American band called Perfume Genius. Um,
So tour
and
manager to split a van
well,
driver.
yeah, and occasionally, like during festival season, the same company, Angst, had a band called Islet, and they had a band called Los Campesinos um, that they worked with, and so they would entrust me to drive and sort of um, look after their requirements, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, to say I was a tour manager is probably pushing it some in those
Yeah, but
respects. I
that's what
mean,
I mean.
I
I
was.
love that. You put it out there. You spoke to the universe, and again, you got the work. And just because you did the business card, just
I
because you
mean,
did
the
it.
thing is, it sounds like I'm a blagger, which actually couldn't be the furthest from the truth. The truth is that I didn't really know what I wanted to be or do.
Yeah.
And the thing that I get asked a lot by local crew are like, oh, how did you get into this? How do I, and what do I need to do? And, oh, I want to work in music. And I'm always like, well, what bit? Like, you need to get a bit specific because there are so many different roles that you can do. And I just think just try and do the one that you enjoy the most. And
So,
when you
okay.
stop enjoying it and do something else.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that that's one thing that I know of. Like for you, I'm going to read something at the end. I want to read something at the end. But, you know, if you're not enjoying it, change it. So, giving advice to somebody by saying, concentrate on one thing kind of like contradicts, because
I
you've
know.
done everything.
Yeah. I mean, look for the opportunities at the same time. Yeah. So
I think that's what life's about.
yeah,
If the opportunity's there,
absolutely.
take it. You know, that has actually been my life as well. Certain things, and never once, even for a CV. Like I think I've had a CV once. Like it's all been word of mouth and going
Mm.
into a different avenue, going into something here. Obviously you've had skill set, but it's like it's other people giving you opportunities as well. So
Yeah. And if you've ever been one of those people who's taken a risk on someone, taken a chance on someone, thank you
yeah,
to those
and
people.
thank you for me too on that one. Yep, thank you.
Um, because sometimes you don't get the best out of somebody by sitting them down in a formal interview situation, and sometimes you just need to see what they can do, and sometimes it's sink or swim. I mean, this is kind of how I got into the bigger echelons of touring in terms of like arenas and larger artists was that so I'd been touring with Perfume Genius on and off for a few years, and that was lovely. I drive a split van. The first time I ever drove a van was on the wrong side of the road. That was also the first time I'd ever driven on the wrong side of the road. I went and picked the van up from Tiger Tours in Wembley. Was like, oh my goodness! It was a right wheel, right hand drive British vehicle, and then
Yeah.
we were going on this European tour, and I'd never driven on the opposite side of the road in my life. And I thought, well, it's now or never, and you've got these people, you've got a responsibility, you've got to get on with it. So put your big girl pants on and get on with it. And so I did, and with the thanks to their tour manager slash sound engineer Dan, yeah, he sort of gave me he was so patient and so encouraging, and would help me park and all these kind of things. It showed me how to maneuver the vehicle and get into the tightest of spaces, just like unreal things that I never would have thought was possible. He showed me that was possible, and the band were awesome, still are awesome.
Still in
Yeah,
touch.
basically, still in touch. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean they've gone on to much bigger, better things. Well, incredible growth as a band. And yeah, so basically, I had a phone call one evening from a friend of mine, Carlina, who said, are you still looking for work? And I was like, yeah, always looking for work. Why? And she said, well, because, well, I've been asked to go out on this massive tour, and I can't tell you who it is, but basically I've just started doing work for VIP Nation, which is part of Live Nation. And so I've just told them that I won't be available to do any more work with them for a while. And I think they're a bit peed off. So I wondered if that would be something you'd be interested in. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Who do I speak to? So she put me in touch, and I went, and I was living in Manchester at the time, and they said, oh, we're doing the Madonna show at the Manchester Arena. Would you like to come and be a VIP assistant, and then you can like sort of see what's
Yeah.
involved and stuff? So like, yeah, great. So I went along and did that, and met their event manager, or their VIP manager. And she sort of said, oh, if you're ever in London passing, come into the office for a cup of tea. be lovely to see you. So I was like,
Just
okay,
come on
great.
down there next week.
Well, this was like November 2015. And I was like, okay, that's great. Didn't really think much more about it until it got to the new year. And I didn't have anything in my diary. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? So I sent an email to this person and I just said, I'm going to be in London in the next couple of weeks. And I wondered if I could pop in and have that cup of tea with you. Yeah, this is great. Well, let me see if a couple of other people are available. And so they sort of, I still just thought I was going in for a cup of tea, right? This was the only week. So I got on the mega bus, and which for those of you who don't know is £1 to travel,
Yeah,
or it used to be. Uh,
I
this
think it's
double
10 now.
decker.
No.
Is it? Oh my God, this double decker bone shaker from Cardiff to London. And I went for the day and went in for this cup of tea. And we were there for like 20 minutes and I met all these people. And then I sort of realised that we were having this, you were asking me these
It was an
questions
interview.
about, it was an interview, but a really informal thing. And I went away and thinking, that was kind of odd, but don't know what
That
that
was
was
worth
about.
£1.
Yeah, it was lovely to see my friend. And, this lady, and that was great. And then 4 days later, they contacted me and offered me the Mariah Carey tour, which was 7 weeks around Europe, UK, and South Africa, looking after her meet and greets and the VIP packages. And I was like, right, here we go then. Another chapter begins. So,
See, again, amazing. Like, just because you proactive, I'm like, actually, I'm going to be in London. It's the kind of thing I'd do as well. Like, actually,
yeah,
I'm just in London. I'm not actually, like, I'm still in Greece, but I can get there if you say yes.
yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
then again, and now another. So then from Mariah Carey, what led
Yes.
you to the next tour?
Well, just more
Or you
booking
just
through
to
VIP Nation then.
through
Yeah, so
VIP
through
Nation?
them, I did lots of different tours then. So with lots of different VIP packages, so I got to understand, all the different elements of those. Some more challenging than others. So Avenged Sevenfold, where fans were literally inside the stage in sort of these sunken pits and had to figure that out with the stage manager and the crew. And, the production manager, etc. And did 5 Seconds of Summer, where the band were being asked questions by the audience, and it was quite a young crowd. And we do 500 for early entry, and those kind of acts, the people that come to see them are fairly young. They tend to be anyway, and they queue up all through the night, and they
Oh,
get
I
their
know.
position at the barrier, and they start writing numbers on their hands and all this, so they don't lose their place in the queue. And I understood how important that was to them, right? They don't want to lose their place in the queue, but I also didn't really want to go by their hand marking system because some were involved in that and some weren't, and I didn't really think that was fair. I basically had wristbands, and I would number the wristbands 1 to 500 when we opened for the early entry. I'd give them all their wristband. I would go down the queue beforehand, make sure everyone was okay, welfare check them along with the stewards from the venues and stuff, and just explain to them that it didn't matter what number was written on their hand, it was the number that was on their wristband that would
That,
count
yeah.
as their place in the queue. And so we'd get them all in, they'd have their sound check experience, but due to the rules and regulations of a lot of venues, it meant that they then had to go back outside or queue up again. And
Ah,
obviously then they've lost their position. So I
ah.
would get them re-queued back up in their order of 500. So if you've ever tried to queue up 500 people in order of number, it's
Oh my goodness.
so I used to stand on a chair and like say, okay, 1 to 10 over here, like 10 to 20 over here, and then go through the queue. But they appreciated it. They
Yeah,
appreciated the
seriously, because you
fairness.
imagine camping
Um,
out all night, and they do.
and they do. And you just got to put yourself in their position as a 15-year-old or a 14-year
Yeah.
old, and they were really sweet. They were really, really sweet. But
But again, you didn't have to care. You could have just said,
I
no,
didn't have to care. No,
no,
I didn't.
do
I didn't
this.
have to care. No, not
So
at all. But I did. I always did care about the fan experience, and I think that's was ultimately really my downfall in some ways, because sometimes you feel like it's not the value for money that you would expect, you know.
yes,
They could be very happy with what they've got, but me
give a thumbs up.
personally, I would think that, maybe I'd like to try and take care of people anyway. So
Yes.
yeah, so I did all sorts. Paul Rogers, Avenged Sevenfold, 5 Seconds of Summer, ColdPlay, which was so good.
I bought this for you today. The cold.
Thank you. I did notice. Yeah, yeah. The Coldplay
It's got
packages are
a
like
load of
1,000
bleach,
people.
a load of everything now. But I was like,
Yeah,
I'm wearing this for Claire.
I love it.
For anybody that doesn't know, this is the Coldplay swag that was given. I miss the swag. I miss the swag.
So much swag. So much swag. They had to give
Seriously.
us a bag to put all the swag in. Yeah, but real good times, real good people. And even now, I watched, I wasn't a Coldplay fan before I started working on that tour, honestly. I bought the first album. I saw them in Club Before Back when they first came out with Shivers and Yellow, and that was pretty much as far as my liking for them started and ended. And then I did that tour, and it was just incredible. It was just
I've got
incredible.
shivers now. You remember Sal?
Yeah.
Do you
Yes.
remember Sal? So
Yeah, yeah.
Sal, bless. She sent me a video because she knows that I like out of everything. Like I've always loved the song Yellow. And
Yeah.
anyway, literally yesterday, she'd sent me a video of her walking like backstage and him and Chris Martin playing Yellow, and I was like, "Ow!" And she knows like
Yeah.
it's like it's a special song for me. So every time, especially after a hard day, I'd
Yeah.
go out and Yellow would come on. I would often have like a tear in my eye,
Yeah.
like that tired tear. And I'd be like, I love this song, and
Yeah.
I'm here, all these people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mad.
Remember
And it's
throwing the
mad how,
balloons?
gosh, yeah, crouching down at the front of the barrier and just feeling, when just feeling like that additional part of the show, as well. Just such brilliant memories. Such
I was going to
brilliant
say, I'm going to
memories.
explain this now. So the balloon part were these huge balloons that were blown up by Paul Trainer, who I believe now is the stage manager, isn't he? Which is awesome. So anyway, he would blow up. Like, everyone would blow up these big balloons, and he would need people. You could only carry one in one hand, one in another, and you'd walk down. And literally the side of the stage, wasn't it? Like it was below the stage. So the band were on the stage, and I can't remember the song, the last song, but basically he would go
The
get down.
Adventures of a Lifetime or
That
something
was
like that,
it.
maybe. Yeah.
Everybody get down. So the whole stadium, everyone would get down. We would get down, and then it would go. Then the music would hit back up again, and we'd jump up with the balloons, and then all the balloons were being released. And you're like, oh my god, like there's the band, literally to touch. That didn't bother me, but just like that was there. But the stadium, and every now and again,
Yeah.
like you're looking at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
It's
smiley
amazing.
faces in front of you, they were like, just everyone's so excited. Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Highlights.
It's incredible. I was, strangely enough, the lady who used to be the one of the event manager, account managers at VIP Nation for Live Nation, Emmy, she is now the production coordinator for Coldplay. And yeah, so I was very lucky. Last year, myself and Kimmy went to see them because we crossed over that beautiful, fruitful moment when the planets align and you happen to be in the same place as another tour and you get to meet up with all your buddies again. Yeah, so we went to, I think it was in Manchester. We went to the Coldplay show
Amazing.
and I just spent the whole time crying. I just was like, so overwhelmed by the whole thing. It's absolutely pathetic.
It's not. I remember because I think we both were leaving, weren't we? I can't remember where the last leg was now, but in Europe, and everyone was off to America on the first time,
Mm,
and I was so sad, like so sad, and I was like, and I was like, seriously, why am I crying? Like I'm actually finished work now. I'm like, I miss everybody
I
already.
know. I know.
So, what would say has been your? I know this is really hard, but what would you say has been your best tour?
Oh my goodness.
For
Every
what for?
tour, every tour is
Different.
good or bad for different reasons. They're so
Yeah.
different. I think generally speaking, I don't care what the music is. It's all about the crew, and the relationships you make on that tour. Also, obviously, it depends at what stage you are in your life when when tours happen. But yeah, I mean, Elton, for the reasons that, the people that I met on that tour, is definitely, the longest tour that I've ever been involved in. And, the number of different jobs I did on that tour allowed me so much, to meet every single
And
person of it.
another question was going to be like one that's impacted you, but I'm sure actually Elton John is the biggest one because of where you are now and what now you've come
Yeah,
from,
I mean,
or
yeah, it's definitely been the one that's had so many pivot points coming off of it, both in terms of, friendships that I've made, and changing in career positions and stuff. The crew would always joke that I was trying to work in every department in the hope that I'd get a set of steak knives. They're like, yeah, she's going for the steak knives. She's she's going to be a lampy next week, and the following week she's going to be a carp. And it's like, I'm open to that, by the way, but right now I really want to give the video LED a real good crack.
but it wasn't. So you've done Eric Clapton as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we just finished Eric
Again,
Clapton.
like
Yeah,
you haven't just gone into the industry slowly. Started off with like something local to learn it. You've just gone
yeah. Well,
full
you
on
know what
in.
as well? The other part of doing videos sometimes can mean that you're asked to run a camera during the show,
Ah,
and
yes.
um, and I'd never even thought that was even going to be asked of me because of how little experience or zero experience I'd had. But on Peter Gabriel, I was given the opportunity to run a long lens, which is maybe it's sort of seen as like the safety shot because you're further away. You know, I was Ed Coleman, the director on that. Thanks, Ed. He sort of trusted me to do the long lens, and it was like, okay, so you are basically gonna be focused on Peter Gabriel, and I was like, what? You're
What?
putting me on the main per? I don't think you understand. No, I've not done this before. They're like, no, you'll be fine. And it was like, just don't take your camera off him, And I was like, okay. It's like a heat-seeking missile. So I did that, and then and I love running camera now. And
Yeah.
on Eric Clapton, I was given the position of doing pit cam,
No.
which was just so cool. It was just so amazing, yeah. And it gives
That's
you, it gives you something to do during the show, which is
yeah.
awesome, and your adrenaline is pumping, and that takes you through to the loadout. And
Well,
yeah,
I
I
always
just
remember going
love it.
into like the side of the stage, and I'd see like all the video crew like with cameras. I was like, hang on a minute, like I'm a bit confused now. And they're like, no, we get to do this as well. I was like, that's amazing. Like seriously,
Yeah, yeah, it's
like.
amazing. And you look up at the screen and you look down your viewfinder and you think, well, that's what I'm doing.
And I
Don't
am,
sneeze.
from my memory, only looking at remember the production sheet, the video crew were always generally the last in and first out. Am I still correct on that?
Yeah, and I think it depends on
Coldplay
the
anyway. I know that was the
it
case.
depends on the tour, like, and it depends on, lighting, obviously, rigging, obviously,
Obviously,
first,
yes.
and lighting. It depends on the position of the trussing, the trusses and stuff like that, and what has to go up in what order and what comes down. I mean, on Clapton, we were quite, and on Gabriel actually as well, because of where our points were and where our screen was hanging from. Yeah, it didn't. I don't think we were ever
You,
first,
you, you,
first to
you,
finish.
you weren't okay. Yeah, I
But
always
I don't
remember all.
really care. I
Yeah,
don't really
no,
care
no,
about
no,
that.
no. I know, but it was just. I remember you obviously looking at the day sheet, and it would always be you'd see all the times of everybody. Like riggers, everybody 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was seven, it
Well,
was
with
10.
catering,
Well, catering, forget that. That's that's been given. That's like 6 o'clock in the
I
morning.
don't
Then all of a
think
sudden
you
you'd
guys
see,
ever slept.
hang on a minute, video are coming in at 12. I was like,
Oh
I've
my
done a
goodness.
six. I've done a 6 hour day and
Oh
you're
my
coming in
goodness.
at 12, like, and I
Oh
always just,
no.
oh, man,
I
that's
think
not
our I think our latest call has been sort of like 9:30 probably.
Oh, that's still good though. And
I mean, it's great. It's great.
do you still like say spare time, not spare downtime on a tour? Are you, how should I put this nicely? Are you having the odd day where it gets a little bit one too many and we're dancing and singing and being very jolly? Or
Uh,
are you now in the focus mode of going walking and taking in the sights of the cities where you are? Because I
yeah, I
remember a
think
few sessions we had together.
yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely going to be time for that, and then there's time to not do that as well. When I was production assistant on Elton, I made the decision not to drink for 4 months whilst I did that
Amazing.
position because I didn't want to fuck it up, essentially. Not that I, want to fuck up any job, but
No, 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 no. Yeah.
it's just I needed to be, and also that job entailed you being on for sort of 24/7. You could get an email or a text message or a phone call at any point
Anytime.
asking you all manner of things. But I mean, as I've got older as well, I don't really think I can be bothered with the headaches and the hangovers so much.
Seriously,
It's
I don't know years ago how I kind of did it, like, sort of the partying and then the getting up in the morning and then doing a full day's work and either doing it all again.
yeah,
I mean, the last tour, which was Muse, or one of the last ones was Muse to me, I actually had it was just about, I think it was 15 months, no alcohol.
mm,
And it was the best tour I'd ever done. Everyone knew I didn't drink,
yeah,
non-alcoholic drinks everywhere, even on the bus. It was the best I'd ever felt. I woke
yeah,
up every morning, amazing, no matter what time it was. And okay, I missed out on the silly stuff. And, and I do miss that. I miss that kind of like that silly roadie Friday on the bus or whatever. I missed that. But then at the same time, I went to bed. I got up in the morning. I went for a nice walk when I got to the next city. So it was amazing. But even here in Crete
yeah,
now, I just can't do it. If anyone's listening to us talking now, they'll be like, "What do you mean you two can't do it anymore?"
yeah. No, no, I still like to have a drink, but for me right now, I'm learning, and this job is, VIP. I could kind of do standing on my head, to be honest with you. Like that's just, put the face on, off you go. But this is, very much and still learning about stuff. You're lifting and shifting super heavy equipment. You could kill someone,
Yeah, yeah.
or get hurt yourself really badly. And, we're running motors and things like that. And, you know, I don't have any judgment for anyone that does
No.
that. And generally speaking, those people are usually going to have much more experience than I have in this side of the tech side of things. But I just need to have my wits about me and know what's going on and be fresh as I can be. And so I try and look after myself now on tour. And so, for example, we were in Dublin with Eric Clapton, and I've done most of it. I've been lucky to go to Dublin a lot of times for work, but I didn't want to get dragged into the Guinness and that, don't get me wrong, I had a pint or two when I was there, but, didn't want to sort of go down that road really. So I took myself off on the train to Howth, which is about 20-30 minutes away to the coast. Did an amazing coastal walk, about 10 miles on one of the days, which was just perfect for me. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Other people, they might want to just completely chill out, watch TV,
Yep. Room
sleep all
service.
day. I'm not the
Yep.
biggest and best sleeper in the world anyway, so I'd much rather recharge my batteries by walking and being in nature, or you know doing some kind of activity. I sometimes take my Brompton bike on tour with me, so they're quite handy. So you get to the hotel and
Yeah.
you can just unfold that and go off somewhere, which is quite cool.
But it's a great way. I mean, even this now. I mean, when you said, I can record. I'm up at 6. We can record it whenever. I was like, okay, amazing. I mean, we've now got the morning, and like I think what's the time now for you? 10 to 9 now.
Uh, yeah, 10 to 9. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like the
ten
middle
to
of the
nine.
day. I've been up since
Oh,
5.
seriously, I know. Well, now it is. I'm 2 hours ahead of you, so it's 10 to
Right.
11 for me now.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's just doing like I think you're the same. We've loved all these silly things we've done, but now it's like, yeah, getting on the instead of having that session in Dublin, getting on the train,
Well,
going
I went
somewhere
for a
else.
beautiful long walk, and then I came back and I met up with a couple of the guys from tour, and we had a couple of pints of Guinness, and then I went to bed. It was just like perfect,
Seriously,
perfect.
I couldn't agree more. Now, there's something that I want to read out because this is in your words, and I'm sorry, I haven't memorized it, but this is what a great attitude you have. So, if you are ever miserable or the thing you're doing no longer makes you want to get out of bed in the morning, then change something. Do something else. Practice gratitude and don't be a dick.
Yeah,
I love that, seriously. And that's true. So I can't thank you enough for doing this. The very first Geese of Gear with the ladies.
no, thank you.
Um,
I'm honoured.
I hope that you've enjoyed chatting with me because I've really loved it. And yeah, just good luck with this summer. I mean, after Adele, have you got
Thanks.
anything going on after that, or you don't know yet?
Not yet, but who
Not
knows?
yet.
Just keep
The
the
park.
faith. We'll see what
Anybody out
happens.
there listening? Claire here, amazing lady. Call her because she's brilliant.
Thank
So
you.
anyway, thank you so much, Claire, and I hope that one day our paths will cross. Or you're going to come to Crete, aren't you, this year?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Trying to figure that out.
Yay! Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sarah. Take care. Ciao.
Bye.